Okay, broadcast seems like it's doing well. Oh, hey everybody! Autumn the Violet Wizard here, and today we're continuing the Pokémon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time we managed to reach Fortree City and had a pretty swell time against the gym leader, Winona, earning ourselves our 6th gym badge. We are steadily approaching the end of this journey, but we still got a ways to go before we are truly finished with things in the Hoenn region. So actually starting things off in a secret base that I made over in Route 20, as I thought it'd be nice to kind of decorate a little space for us to hang out in between sessions. And as we can see here, our team has been trained a little bit in preparation for what we're going to be doing here today, and we got ourselves a new team member that we managed to catch in the last session, all trained up. So say hello to Nemesis. I can feel the wind coming from the east. She stirs deep in her slumber, waiting in anticipation. Perhaps we will be ready to face her in time. Okay. But yeah, I want to bring Nemesis into our party because she is a brave nature, which means that she's going to be a really good attacker. As you can see just from her stat spread here, she is going to be quite good. The rest of the stats leave a lot to be desired, but as you can clearly see here, she's going to outdamage like most of our teammates, and that's going to be very good. Especially with some of the moves we have available to us. Sadly, Bite's not going to be the best on her since Dark is a special move in this generation. But I taught her Secret Power, as I felt that would be very nice to use as a main damaging attack. And she also learned Double Team and Swords Dance, which are going to be really good for setting her up in certain battles coming up. So yeah, I thought we could bring her on board and get a bit of a taste at what it's like having an Absol in our party. Also probably a good idea to check on this girl. And we can get ourselves a free berry from her once a day. Want to quickly do that before we jump into the main event of this session. So yeah, I have a pretty good idea on what we're going to be doing here today. There's quite a few different places that we can explore in the eastern section of the region past Fortree, so I am definitely hoping to get through most of the things we should be able to do here at this point in our adventure. But just ahead is Route 121, a new area with a lot more things for us to see. There are powers beyond our understanding in the world. Oh boy, time to be introduced to one of Gen 3's most iconic trainer types, the Hex Maniac. It's crazy to think that this trainer archetype would become insanely popular with their redesign of the Generation 6 games. Like, if you know, you know. So much fan art. So yeah, Hex Maniacs will typically be using Psychic and Ghost-type Pokemon in their party. And since I knew we'd be encountering lots of these Pokemon here, that's partly why I wanted to lead with Nemesis in these fights. Since as a Dark type, she's going to be really handy against these trainers. As well as some of the wild Pokemon we'll be encountering in this area. So we got ourselves another spot where we can get berries over here in this section of the route. Yeah, this is honestly a really good area if you want to cultivate berries, because there's a lot of different dirt patches where you can plant these. And it's also pretty close to someone who gives you free berries daily, so yeah, I could easily recommend coming here if you want to stockpile a good supply of berries that could be useful to you. So this area is also going to have a lot of hidden things we're going to be on the lookout for. Grab an HP up there. It's going to be real handy. Should I give that to Fillet? So they have the highest HP in our party, and it'd be very nice to build up their bulk, as they are easily going to be one of the most useful party members we have in our party. I am very impressed with how well Filet has been doing so far in this game. Ever since we got them evolved, they've just been phenomenal. It's great. Okay, I don't believe this Kecleon's gonna have much that's gonna be able to handle Nemesis here. So I'm gonna take a turn to set up with Swords Dance, and we should be able to handle anything this thing can do. Okay, it actually managed to miss the attack, so we're gonna do a double setup here and go for Double Team, aka Shadow Clone Jutsu. Yeah, if anyone's familiar with the way Double Team gets portrayed in the anime and some other media, it pretty much is just the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Yeah, clearly seeing here Nemesis, a very strong Pokemon, but her defenses are pretty low, so we definitely need to watch out for that when we're going to be using her. As there tends to be some pretty strong Pokemon we'll be encountering in this stage of our adventure. Not like it matters, we were able to decimate everything this girl has in her team. And I believe this is a trainer we should be able to rematch afterwards, so that's very good to keep in mind. So let's give Nemesis a super potion to heal up all that damage. Oh, look who it is. Team Aqua is on the prowl again. Whatever those guys are up to, it cannot be good. So we'll definitely want to follow them in a bit. However, I do want to explore the rest of this route. So you can find a bit of an elusive secret base spot over there. Ahead looms Mount Pyre. It's a natural monument to the spirits of departed Pokemon. So that'll be something we'll want to look into in a bit. Now heading over here, we obviously have some grass where we can encounter some new Pokemon, and there's some in this area that could be very well worth our time depending on how lucky we're able to get with our encounters. Alright, managed to get a level up on Nemesis there, the first level up she gets since joining our party. And thinking about what we're going to be doing in just a sec. Considering just the next battle we have coming up, we're going to switch Filet and Blocky to the front. And let's take out these twins. Together we're fearless. We'll demonstrate how tough we are. So I definitely want to make sure my team is prepared for this one, because these two can be deceptively tough. Senior and Junior, Kate and Joy, use a Spinda and a Slacking. Yeah, haven't seen this thing since our battle against our dad. And it's still pretty formidable. Just one of the strongest Pokemon we can encounter in this stage of the game. So we'll definitely want to focus on the Slacking and try to take that thing out first. Yeah, we'll go for a dig on Blocky. Should be able to avoid anything these guys can do in the meantime. So the Slacking's going for Focus Punch, so as long as Filet strikes it, we should be okay. We're going to be leaving Spin out here, but it's honestly not too bad. It is going to do Teeter Dance, which is a bit nasty. It's another quality with Teeter Dance. It affects everyone on the field, even its partner. So that's definitely something to keep in mind here. Let's keep focusing on the Slacking. There's not much it's going to be able to do on this turn, since it's going to be suffering from Truant. But we just want to take this thing out as quickly as possible. Alright, one more hit should take it out. Let's go for the Strength, and should be able to finish you with a Slash, depending on how things go here. Alright, Filet hurt himself, but we should still be fine. Of course, this guy also has Yawn. That's like the one status ailment move these things get, where they're able to put you to sleep by using Yawn. It's honestly not too bad. Alright, one more hit should take this thing out. If Filet doesn't get this killed, then Blocky certainly will. Come on. Alright, Filet's gonna take a bit of a hit, but that's not too bad. And there it goes. Alright, so that takes care of the main threat. So all we gotta deal with now is this Spinda. And sadly, both our Pokemon are confused. Alright, since I know that Blocky is gonna be slower than Filet, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go for the Strength on Filet. And then on your turn, Blocky, we're gonna use our Yellow Flute to snap Filet out of confusion. Definitely goes to show what you're able to do in double battles, where you can spend a partner's turn in order to support one of your other Pokemon in battle. Definitely lends itself to some really fun strategies you can do here. And that takes care of Spinda. Definitely an annoying Pokemon to deal with, but not all that strong. So with that, we easily dealt with the toughest schoolgirls we're going to be encountering in this region. And Blocky is currently asleep, so let's wake you up. There we go. And let's enter this building here. Is this a very nice area? Welcome to the Safari Zone. Here you may witness many kinds of Pokemon rarely seen in Hoenn, and you'll see them in their wild, untamed state and natural habitats. What's more, we've thrown open the gates to Pokemon trainers. You're encouraged to catch Pokemon for keeps. Come in and enjoy the Safari Zone. So this area is definitely going to be nice to us. Is this your first time here? When you enter the Safari Zone, you start with 30 Safari Balls for catching Pokemon. The Safari game's over when you run out of Safari Balls or when you walked 500 steps. Come in and enjoy the Safari Zone. So let's give this a shot here. All you can catch for just $500. We'll go ahead and take that. And we receive 30 Safari Balls. So when it comes to catching Pokemon, Safari Balls are about on par with a Great Ball. So they have a 1.5 times modifier to catching Pokemon. So yeah, the Safari Zone in Nuzlocke runs is totally dependent on what the player feels would be right given their usual rules. So some Safari Zones are divided into different quadrants that you could explore. And in the case of the Safari Zone here in the Hoenn region, there are 4 distinct quadrants with different encounter tables that you are able to see here. However, for the sake of fairness in this run, I am going to try to only capture one Pokemon. And we'll just be going around this area and see what we're able to find. Oh, definitely not you. Whoop. Yeah, I was hoping that wouldn't catch. So you're able to run into Wobbuffet here. The only spot in the game where you can actually capture Wobbuffet. So yeah, what I'm going to do is just walk around to different grass patches and just see what we come across. So when you encounter wild Pokemon here in the Safari Zone, your options for being able to deal with these guys... Ooh, Doduo. You can throw a Safari Ball to try and catch them. You can throw one of your Pokeblocks in order to make the Pokemon less likely to flee, but harder to catch. You can select Go Near, which makes the Pokemon more likely to flee, but easier to catch. Or if you don't like the encounter you got, you can simply run. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to throw Safari Balls at whatever Pokemon we come across. And since Pokemon can obviously run away, we're not going to be counting that as a loss for this area. We're simply going to see the first Pokemon we actually managed to catch. So in that case, we managed to get ourselves a Doduo. And that is going to count as our encounter for the entire Safari Zone. I know that may seem a little weird since this area has 4 quadrants, all of which have different encounter tables, but the Hoenn region already has a very large selection of Pokemon you can catch in a challenge run like this, so for the sake of fairness, I'm only limiting myself to one Pokemon. Doduo's 2 heads contain completely identical brains. A scientific study reported that on rare occasions, there will be examples of this Pokemon possessing different sets of brains. Quite the interesting Pokemon. I always really like the Doduo line, how they're these organisms that have 2 sets of heads. that are able to think independently of each other. It's quite the interesting thing we got here. Alright, so we got ourselves a Pokemon with 2 heads that will eventually gain 3 heads. What are we going to call you? Alright, I got kind of an idea for what we can call you. So we're gonna call you Beaker. I feel like that'd be a cute name for a bird Pokemon. So now that we got our catch in this area, we could technically leave the Safari Zone now. However, there are some exclusive items that you can find in the Safari Zone, and I would like to look around and try to get things here. Another thing to know with the version differences between the different Safari Zones in the Hoenn games. If you're playing Emerald, the Safari Zone there has another section you can access in the post-game, which is really useful for encountering Johto Pokemon that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. And in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they actually allow you to battle the Pokemon in the Safari Zone normally, so you don't have to put up with the usual Safari Zone rules in this area. It's quite a nice change. I definitely like that about the new version of the Safari Zone there. But yeah, there's definitely a lot we can see and do around this place. Definitely check around, as there can be a lot of hidden goodies around here. In fact, I'll probably be visiting this place in between streams just to try and grab the items that we're going to miss in our first go here. Sometimes I toss a Pokeblock at a Pokemon, it gets ignored. The Pokemon have likes and dislikes about what they eat. So yep, depending on what type of Pokeblock you throw, that'll have a different effect on a Pokemon. Put a Pokeblock on the feeder, Pokemon are attracted to it. Think Pokemon with the same sort of nature are drawn by a certain Pokeblock. So yeah, sometimes around here you'll find feeders, and by putting a certain Pokeblock in the feeder, that will attract a Pokemon of a specific nature that likes those types of Pokeblocks. So for instance, you could put a spicy flavor Pokeblock if you want to attract Pokemon that have good attack-raising natures. Then over here, we got ourselves some more railings that require a bike. If you want to fully explore this place, you need to use both the Acro and the Mach Bike in order to access some of the more elusive sections of this area. Thankfully, if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in the post-game, you're actually allowed to get both bikes. So you don't need to worry too much about switching between them when exploring this area. But in this version, you do need to cycle between the different bikes. And their time is up. Such a shame. Well, for efforts, we did get ourselves a pretty good normal flying type. As you would expect, Doduo is all about the speed, and you have a relaxed nature. I think that's minus defense or minus special defense. Either way, you're decent backup, all things considered, and you're going to evolve pretty quickly, so there's also that. While we're accessing the box, we could also quickly shuffle some of our Pokemon, as any Pokemon deposited in the PC will have their health fully restored. So, it's definitely a nice way to use this as a free healing area in the middle of this route. Considering some of our other options here, I would like to bring Carl back into the team, because he's pretty close to an evolution. However, we're still going to be needing Cut in this section of the game, so we're going to hold off on that until a bit later. So we're going to keep Mickey around. But actually, we can swap out Nemesis for someone. Shari's always a pretty handy Pokemon to have. And she's going to be quite useful in this area, since Dark is pretty good against a lot of Pokemon in this area. So, yep, that is our first encounter of this area. Managing to get ourselves a pretty nice Safari Zone encounter. But let me tell you, the sheer variety of things you can get in the Safari Zone is very well worth it. Like, you can find Pikachu there, you can get Rhyhorn, you can also run into Phanpy, Pinsir, Heracross, Psyduck. There's a lot of Pokemon there that are exclusive to the Safari Zone, so depending on how you choose to play a Nuzlocke run, you can try and capture one Pokemon in each of the 4 quadrants if you'd like. I'm just doing things my way because I feel like it would be more fair to only limit ourselves to one encounter for that section. Oh, come on! Don't roar me out after I switch to a better Pokemon. Fine, Mickey can handle you. You're not being very gentlemanlike, sir. And now you're sniffing at him? What's going on with your strategy, my dude? Wow, even though I'm paralyzed, we still outsped Manectric. Like, I don't know if that Pokemon has any low priority attacks, but Linoone is a pretty fast Pokemon, so I guess that tracks. Oh man, that was pretty fun. So I'm not intending to use a Mickey for any more battles around here, as you're mainly a support Pokemon in this section of the game. Yeah, I have been thinking that we'll probably want to retire Mickey at some point, but he still has a lot of useful HMs on him, which are going to be useful even to the end game, so we'll definitely think about what we need to do with him at some point. So I picked up a Max Revive, so we're definitely going to sell that. We have no need. We'll give this Carbos to Liam. He's a very fast Pokemon, and having speed on you is going to be really useful, especially with how close we are. Alright, so this is our encounter for this route. Shuppet. We got ourselves a Ghost-type Pokemon. So this one is a bit more physical-oriented, which is quite nice because Ghost is a physical type in this game. Could actually be pretty handy to you. I used a Shuppet myself back when I played through Emerald on my Twitch streams way back in the day. And it was quite the good party member. Oh, come on. So yeah, Ghosts are usually known for being a very tricky Pokemon. They learn a lot of status moves, so they're really good at inhibiting Pokemon. Alongside that, they have a natural immunity to both normal and fighting, so they can be quite good defensively in a lot of situations. Shuppet, the puppet Pokemon. Shuppet grows by feeding on dark emotions, such as vengefulness and envy in the hearts of people. It roams through cities in search of grudges that taint people. It's got itself a very vengeful and aggressive hunter here. Given what I know about this particular Pokemon, let's actually call you Hunter. If you know the lore with this specific Pokemon's evolution line, then that name is going to be very fitting. Oh man. Yeah, that's definitely a good find for this area. And that eliminates another potential Pokemon we could find on another route. So that's also good for us. Here, gotta sell some more Linoone to deal with. There's a few other Pokemon in this area that you can also watch out for. So, if you're playing Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, you would naturally come across Shuppet in the wild here. However, if you're playing Ruby and the remake of that game, you can encounter Duskull, which we saw earlier. Compared to Shuppet, Duskull is more of a tanky Pokemon, where it is really good defense and special defense, and is mainly meant to just take hits for your team while impairing the opponents with status moves. Quite the good Pokemon, honestly. It actually learns a wide variety of different damaging attacks that can be pretty useful to you. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of appeal to using the ghost types in this area. They are certainly useful. And, you know, I'm very thankful that we got a lot more ghost types added as the series progressed. Because back in the old days, in Red and Blue, we only had one ghost type family. And in the following generation, we only got one new ghost Pokemon, and it couldn't even evolve. So yeah, I am very thankful for the new additions we got here in Gen 3. Between Sableye, Shedinja, Shuppet, and Duskull, we got some good options. Sadly though, you're not able to encounter the Ghastly family in this region, so shame about that. They're very good Pokemon, but we're not able to catch them here. Well. So over here around these flowers, we should be able to find something good. Oh yeah, we got a nugget. It's quite nice. And is there anything else we can find here? Nope, no response. Okay, that's fine. So if you're playing Emerald, there's also more opportunities to encounter wild Pokemon here. I'm honestly quite glad we didn't encounter this thing on this route, considering some of the things we could have gotten. Yeah, Oddish, you're a good Pokemon, but at this point don't really feel like it's that necessary for us, especially because our starter Pokemon is a grass type. I mean, Oddish does do pretty well in the end game in the Hoenn region, so that could definitely be considered as a team member. But we don't need to worry about it. Let's grab these Nanab berries. Don't know if you noticed, but Nanab is actually banan backwards. That's right, they're bananas. And here we have reached Lily Cove City. One of the cooler locations in the Hoenn region here. This planet's biggest mysteries are the bottom of the sea. Somebody said that, but I don't know. There's a deep underwater trench between Moss Deep and Satopolis. That's what someone told me anyway. So got ourselves a very nice location to look at with a ton of things that we can see. I came from Kanto. The Hoenn region's beautiful with all its water and verdant nature. Huh, wait a second. Could there be rare Pokemon that live only in this area? For those of us who grew up with Red and Blue, oh yeah, so many new Pokemon here in the Hoenn region. I actually really like that about these games, how the vast majority of the Pokemon in this region are all new additions, compared to what we saw back in Red and Blue, and especially in the Johto region, because only 100 new Pokemon were added in those games. Meanwhile, we got over 100 in the Hoenn region, and I quite like a good amount of them, so, you know, that's all good. Okay, so let's check on our spooky spirit. So you, Hunter, ooh, he has a spell tag, and he has a lonely nature. That's actually really good for you. So the spell tag is an item that boosts the damage of ghost type attacks. Could be quite useful to us in a bit, though sadly this guy does take a while before he evolves. And considering my plans with our team at the moment, yeah, we're currently using 2 dark types, and using a ghost type would be a little redundant. However, I do want to take that spell tag off. This is definitely a Pokemon that would have good potential as backup, but it's not something I am looking for at the moment. Because, yeah, we would have to baby this thing for quite a while in order to get you trained up. I can look into it later, but for now, we're not going to worry about you. looking at our current team here. Yeah, we should be good. Alright, so this area is definitely a lot we're going to be seeing here, so we're spending quite a bit of time in this area. Team Aqua's been training their whaler in the cove. We sailors can't get our boats out to sea with them in the way. Oh, that's a pity. So it seems that Team Aqua has a bit of a presence here. Very unfortunate. Whatever anyone says, my favorite trainer is Duford's gym leader, Brawly. Ah, definitely likes the athletic type. Everyone here, we're all huge fans of Pokemon battles. We discuss who we consider to be the strongest of all trainers. If you were to become famous, we might even become your fans. Might want to pop in here later then. I've been hearing things about a tough new trainer. This trainer's supposed to be beating gym leaders even. Do you know anything about this new trainer? Maybe I know a bit about him. My favorite trainer is cool, strong, and really nice. I wish there was a trainer like that. Yeah, we got these guys crawling all over the place. Very similar to how things were in Slateport for a bit. Rather unfortunate to see these guys being so prevalent here. Huh, so they doubled the guests by using Pokemon as attractions. Maybe I should make a cute Pokemoner into mascot. I wonder if that will attract more guests to stay with us. Oh, sorry, I was too involved in watching TV. Since that Team Aqua came to town, the tourists have been staying away. Oh, really? What you watching? Hey, down in front! I can't see the TV! I always like that. If you step in front of him, he'll just push you out of the way. So you see, there's a hotel over here, but sadly no guests tending to it. I was taking a relaxing snooze at the seaside inn to the sound of waves when someone stole my Pokemon. Who's the abductor? Team Aqua? Is it Team Aqua? It's very unfortunate. The people of this town are really going through it with these guys. Even as we grow old and wrinkled, the sea remains forever young with a vivid brilliance of life. It was 60 years ago that my husband proposed to me here. The sea remains as beautiful as ever. Aw, that's very sweet. It's always very nice when two people are together for such a long amount of time. There's another hidden item here, but I'm thinking it's over here by the rocks. And believe it or not, this thing over here is a lighthouse. Yeah, it doesn't really look like it, but trust me, it's a lighthouse. So yeah, there's something by the rocks we're gonna need to do something about. So we can see that there is a contest hall over here. So this is where you would go to in order to do Master Rank contests, which is the final class of contest that you're able to do here. If you're playing Emerald, though, this would be the area where all of the contests would be held. Yeah, they shrink it down to just being in this one spot, which is kind of interesting. You can see a lot of people over here to do the Pokeblock mixing with. This would probably be a really optimal area to go to if you want to mix Pokeblocks, which I probably could have taken advantage of earlier. When my wife gave birth to quadruplets, you bet I was shocked. But now, seeing them play together, it makes me happy. Oh my, you're traveling alone? But you're so young! Good for you! I'm sure my kids could learn a thing or two from you. Me, I'm a master of Pokeblocks. If I get serious just a little, why, I can concoct great Pokeblocks. Would you like to learn from me? Nah, I've already learned enough about Pokeblocks for one lifetime. It seems like the kids here are preparing for Pokemon contests. Good for them. It's a nice little distraction. I beg your pardon, you're looking for a ship. I'm sorry, the ferry service isn't available at present. This is an area you want to look into when you're in the post-game. But for now, we are not able to do anything at the shipyard here in Lily Cove. And there's no more items we can do over here. Alright. That's everything around the southern end of town. We head up. Oh, look who it is. Just gonna switch Zappercorn into the lead here. Oh, hey! Hayden, are you shopping too? I bought a whole bunch of dolls and posters. Of course, I've also caught a lot of Pokemon, and I'm raising them properly too. Actually, I'm more worried if you're raising Pokemon properly, Hayden. I'll battle with you so you can show me your Pokemon, Hayden. Sure. The Pokemon I raised won't be beaten by your Pokemon, Hayden. Believe it or not, this is actually the last time we're going to be battling against May here in this run. So she's leading this time with Swellow. It's a very easy Pokemon for Zappercorn to take out, which is I wanted our little ball of electricity here to lead the fight. That gets you to 35. Very good. Next is Combuskin. Yeah, despite this being the last time we fight a rival, she does not bother to fully evolve her starter Pokemon. Unless you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in which case they will actually have a fully evolved starter Pokemon. Definitely goes to show all the little improvements that they did make with those games. I don't agree with every decision they made in the remakes, but those little things do add up to a pretty enjoyable experience, I feel. So next up, we got a Wilmer. And Filet just completely missed. Okay. Out of our Pokemon options here, there's one Pokemon I feel really needs to engage in this battle. And that's Liam. So for this session, I would like to put special attention to leveling up Liam, because we are very, very close to something I have been wanting for so long in this run. Especially because back in my Ruby Nuzlocke I did so many years ago, I started that adventure with a Trico, but sadly my starter ended up dying while he was in his Grovyle stage. So I can think of no better way to end things off in this run than by managing to finally get Liam to his final stage. It's gonna take a while, but I'm definitely prepared to put in the effort. Yeah, that Shroomish, we're not gonna do much with Liam. Filet has Ice Beam. We should be able to handle this thing. And you're going for the Poison Powder. Not too worried about that. We have a lot of HP, and the Pokemon Center is very close by. Let's finish this. And that's all she wrote. I remember the battle I had with you, Hayden, on Route 103. That battle helped you become this strong, Hayden, didn't it? It sure did. It was a good start to our journey. I'm thinking of going back to Little Root soon. I got a decent group of Pokemon, and my Pokedex is coming along, so I'm going home to show my dad. Hayden, what are you going to do? Collect all the gym badges and take the Pokemon League Challenge? Well, while you're collecting badges, Hayden, I'm going to work on my Pokedex. I'll complete it before you. See you! Maybe someday I'll finally get a chance to complete the Generation free Pokedex. And it may be coming closer than we can expect. But yep, that is our last main interaction with our rival in this adventure. I believe you can encounter her in some of the earlier routes around Little Root and Oldale Town. And you can just talk to her out in the wild. But besides that, there's not much else we can do against her. But I will say, in contrast to how things went in my Emerald run, yeah, I definitely prefer May as a character compared to Brendan. I just feel like Brendan is very condescending to you, specifically because of your gender, and that really rubs me the wrong way. But, with that said, we managed to take care of our rival, and that opens up a new area for us to discover. Lily Cove Department Store, overflowing with great merchandise and excitement. This is easily the best shopping area in the game. I'm buying something for my Azuma rolls as a reward for winning a contest. Aw, that's very nice. Welcome to Lily Cove Department Store. This is the Pokemon Lottery Corner. All shoppers visiting our department store get to draw a Pokemon Lotto ticket. If the Lotto ticket's number matches the ID number of any of your Pokemon, you'll receive a fabulous gift. So this is a very neat little thing you can do once a day. You will draw a Lotto ticket, and depending on the ID numbers of your Pokemon you have in the box, that will determine whether you're able to draw some very nice prizes here. So if you're going for this, I would recommend trading as many Pokemon as you can with friends to be able to get as many different ID combinations as possible. As if you're lucky enough to get the top prize, you get yourselves a Master Ball, which is an item that's able to capture any Pokemon without fail, making it easily one of the best items you can have in your journey. God. It's also pretty funny looking back on some of my previous adventures, because back when I streamed my Emerald run so many years ago, I visited the lottery counter just as something to do in between stream sessions. And I actually managed to win the grand prize and managed to have 2 Master Balls on that file. God, that was so crazy. I'm so happy we actually managed to do that. So over here, we're able to buy some Pokeballs. I'm just going to check my supplies here. Yeah, we have 20 Ultra Balls. We're pretty good. We don't need to worry about those anytime soon. But what else do you have? You could also buy some full heals. I'll buy a couple of these. Status healing is always very good to have. And you're also able to buy a Fluffy Tail. That is an item that is able to... the Fluffy Tail makes it so that you can flee from a wild encounter, which is nice if you run into something that you don't want to fight. So over here we can buy X items. Definitely very nice. Go ahead and grab as many of these as you would like. I would easily recommend X Attack, X Special, X Speed, and X Defend. The other ones are a bit more situational, and X Accuracy I would only recommend if your Pokemon has very low accuracy attacks. You're also able to buy vitamins to increase their effort values, thus making their stats better. So that is definitely very nice to grab here. And if we head up this way, I believe, yep, this is the TM store. We're able to buy a lot of good things here. TM17 is Protect, which will fully protect a Pokemon from damage. However, its chances of failing increases the more it's used, so be wary of that. TM20, I believe, is Safeguard, which protects your Pokemon from statuses like Poison and Sleep. 33 is Reflect. It's a move that will boost the defenses of your team for 5 turns. And then we have TM16, which is Light Screen, which does the same as Reflect, but for special attacks. These can be quite good if you have a more defensive strategy in mind for your team. Could be nice to grab later. And then we got these TMs. 38 is Fire Blast, which is basically a stronger flamethrower, but less accurate. TM25 is Thunder. does more damage than Thunderbolt, but is less accurate. TM14 is Blizzard, which is stronger than Ice Beam, but less accurate. And finally, TM15 Hyper Beam. This is a normal type 150 base power move. Easily one of the strongest damage dealing moves in the game. However, after it is used, your Pokemon will need a turn to recharge. Really good as a way to end a battle, not so as a move to be using throughout a fight, as your Pokemon will be taking hits in between attacks. This is such a good TM, I am actually going to purchase it, as it will be very useful for one specific Pokemon we have in our team that could benefit from it. So yeah, a pretty good selection of moves, all things considered, of both defensive and offensive potential. Then we have this floor. So this area is pretty much entirely based around your secret bases, where you're able to buy a lot of furniture in order to decorate them. There's probably not much I'm going to need to buy here, but there are a few good things, like you can buy mats if you want to set those on the floor. We can buy posters. I'm actually going to buy the Trico poster because, of course, I am. Yeah, this is a nice area if you want to. And also grab the Sky poster, since I have caught a Wingull in this run. Posters will, of course, can be used to decorate the walls. Then over here, we can buy cushions. Yeah, sure, I'll buy a Zigzagoon cushion. And then I believe the final stall over here has Pokemon dolls. Definitely a nice way if you want to decorate your base with as much silly things as you want. I'm specifically buying the dolls of Pokemon that I have actually managed to catch in this run, as I feel like it's a nice way to make our secret base more personalized. Alright, feel like that's all the shopping I want to do here. So yeah, definitely a good spot if you want to grab some more decorations for your base. But up here on the top floor, we got ourselves some very nice things we can grab. I believe that what that guy says about sales is something you can watch out for, as sometimes prices here will be different depending on the day of the week. Or something. And then, of course, we have a vending machine. This allows us to buy healing items that would be much cheaper than what you can buy normally at stores. Freshwater is basically a cheaper super potion, restoring 50 HP. Soda Pop, as we have seen before, restores 60 HP. And then Lemonade restores 80 HP. And it's much cheaper than a super potion. I could easily recommend stocking up on lemonades here. In fact, let's go grab a couple of cans. We're getting to the point where Pokemon are getting some very high HP totals, so this could be really useful in a pinch if we need to restore a lot of HP. Just gonna grab a bunch of these, and then we'll be good to go. So yeah, I highly recommend buying these items here. They are so good. And I'm just going to move these up our list here. Just bear with me while I do a bit of inventory management. This is what I always do because I'm just so anal about this. Yep, that is a good selection we're able to get here. And if you want to quickly move to a specific floor without taking the stairs, you can, of course, ride the elevator. So yep, that's everything you do in the department store. It's a very nice location. Highly recommend visiting here. You can get so much good stuff. Sadly, unlike red and blue, you're not able to get evolution items here. But don't worry, we'll get to that section in a bit. And over here, we got ourselves an art museum. It's quite a nice little area, though it's not really necessary for us to visit in our journey. You can just marvel at some of the artwork around here. But besides that, there's not much else going on. So I really love the museum they have in Legend ZA. Like, it's really cool, all the artwork they have displayed over there. Especially how some of the exhibits are themed around certain games. Like, they have an entire exhibit based around Pokemon Legends Arceus. And that's very cool. Oh yes, I'm the move deleter. I can make Pokemon forget their moves. If you ever want to make a Pokemon forget one of their HM moves, this is the guy you want to go to, as he's able to get rid of anything you do not need. So at the moment, I'm perfectly fine with our current HM selection. And we're coming close to the point where we're not going to be needing Cut, so that could be something to consider for later. But for now, we're not going to worry too much about that. So we head over this way. Pokemon are partners to people. They aren't our tools. Unfortunately, there's some people who fail to understand that. Yeah, some people just gotta be an asshole no matter what. Even though it costs nothing to be good. So over here, there's another trainer you can talk to in order to get yourselves free berries. It's definitely very nice if you want to grab some extra goodies. Yeah, these Team Aqua guys just crawling all over the place. This poor town, you can easily tell it's a very lavish area compared to other sections of Hoenn we've seen, and yet they have to put up with all these thugs just going around harassing people and stealing Pokemon. It's very nasty. So over here by the beach, definitely be nice to explore this area, as we're able to find some pretty good items hidden around the rocks. Now, there are Pokemon we're able to fish up in this area, and there's one Pokemon in particular I would really like to get. However, we're not going to be able to fish it out until much later, so we're not going to worry about that until a bit. Oh, our inventory's already full? Come on. So I know there's a PP up there. What else? Alright, that's it. Okay, what else do we have at the moment? Yeah, we're filling up a lot of stuff. I don't really need a Super Repel here, so we'll go ahead and use that. And we'll grab that PP up. Okay, let's go deposit the items in the PC, and then we should be good to continue exploring. So yeah, we've hit ourselves a bit of a roadblock. We cannot go any further east until we manage to find a way to deal with Team Aqua. And we'll be dealing with them pretty soon. But for now, we got ourselves some more areas that we can go to. Definitely want to hold on to those heart scales, as those are good for relearning moves over in Foliber Town. Alright, for current team setup, we should be good for the next area. Alright, so it's time to head off back to Route 21, as we're going to want to head all the way back here to where we saw Team Aqua traveling. It's going to have to head to the water for this part. So I'm actually going to swap Liam to the front here, since this is a water area. So head over here to Route 122. There's only one new Pokemon we can catch in this area, and I'm not going to worry about that anytime soon. So instead, let's head up here to Mount Pyre. So just give me a moment here, as I want to... I'm gonna pop a max repel here just for a moment. So this area is a large cemetery. This is the final resting place of my Zigzagoon. I cherished it. Man, ever since I started doing Nuzlocke runs, coming to these areas just has an entirely different feel, considering all the Pokemon that I've seen lost in the course of my adventures. Though we managed to get through this run without a fatality so far, so that's pretty nice. So what that old lady over there gave us is a pretty elusive item, the Cleanse Tag. Holding that will make you less likely to run into wild Pokemon, so that can be quite nice while navigating this area. As well as certain other areas coming up, as we have some places coming up where you are going to be encountering a lot of Pokemon, just repeatedly, so you know, that's definitely something to consider, especially if you don't want to waste money on repels. But over here in the upper sections of Mount Pyre, we definitely have ourselves quite a bit to see around this area. And there's also a lot of elusive items you want to watch out for. So definitely check around the gravestones, as you can usually tend to find something good here. So while we're exploring a bit of this area, something I definitely want to talk about, especially given some news coming up. So in a few days, we are going to be having a Pokemon Day, which is the anniversary of when the Pokemon series first started, with the release of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan 30 years ago. Yeah, it is just crazy to think that Pokemon is so old at this point. And especially considering the fact that I am at least 2 years older than this franchise. Oh man. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for what we are potentially going to see on that day. And I actually have a day off, so I might actually record my live reaction to what we're going to see on the Pokemon Presents. But along with that, on that day, so the Pokemon Company has announced that they are going to be re-releasing Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Nintendo Switch. And guess who already pre-purchased his copy of Leaf Green? Yeah, I am just so excited to finally be getting to have a chance to replay the Generation 3 games on official Nintendo hardware. Now, I know some people have been talking a bit about, like, the pricing of these games and how it doesn't seem right for re-release, and, like, I kind of see their point. I'm not too worried about it. I still love to support an IP that I have a lot of love and respect for after all this time. And, like I said, it's good to be able to play these games on official hardware. So I used to play Fire Red and Leaf Green, like, so much when I was younger. Like, I received my Game Boy Advance and my copies of Fire Red and Leaf Green as a gift from my father on the same day. And yeah, that was definitely a very good gift to get. I love the hell out of those games. I also got my copy of Emerald from him as well that day, so definitely had a lot of good Pokemon experiences that I was able to have. And I still have my copy of Leaf Green and Emerald as well as Ruby. But at this point, the hardware that I currently have available in order to play those games, which is my Nintendo DS Lite, yeah, these days, that thing has definitely seen a lot of wear. And it's honestly kind of difficult for me to go back to playing those games on that hardware. So yeah, that's definitely one of the main reasons I'm excited for the re-release of Fire Red and Leaf Green on Switch. It's definitely going to make it a lot more available, especially to kids these days who didn't grow up with the Generation 1 games or their remakes. So I feel like they'll have a very fun time with those games. So Liam's trying to learn agility. I am not going to teach him that. And after dispatching with you, I'm actually going to keep Liam in the front of our party going forward.
Not you again! You've impeded our plans repeatedly, but this time you're too late. The red orb that rests atop Mount Pyre. I, Archie, claim it as mine! Finally, I can realize my grand design! Come on, crew! It's Slateport next!
Oh no! This cannot happen! How could they take the red orb? The blue orb and red orb must never be separated! They belong together! Fine. You take the remaining blue orb. Please take after that foul man and get the other orb back!
So we received the blue orb, a sacred item kept here on Mount Pyre.
The blue orb you have been entrusted with and the stolen red orb. They must never be apart. Something terrible will happen.
Mount Pyre is where we calm the spirits of Pokémon that have passed on. There's a high place where one can see all of Hoenn. The disembodied spirits of Pokémon must find solace here. Is it coincidence that you are here? Will you hear on my tale? A tale long told in the Hoenn region. Sure, it happened long, long ago. The world was racked by a ferocious clash between the Pokémon of the sea and the Pokémon of the land. The Pokémon of the sea raised huge waves and carved out oceans. The Pokémon of the land raised mountains and created continents. Their fierce duel raged without end. The world was engulfed in massive infernos and vicious storms. The blue orb and the red orb brought an end to the calamity. Light poured from the two orbs and becalmed the enraged adversaries. The pair, made docile, dove deep into the sea, where eventually they disappeared.
So we get ourselves some lore that is pretty important to the orbs we have just heard about. So we'll definitely want to bear that in mind. Sadly, in this game, we cannot get a good view of what our blue orb actually looks like. Because sadly, in this game, we are not able to actually get a good look at it, unlike some later games in the series, which actually do have little portraits for all the items that you were able to obtain. But trust me, this thing is definitely significant to us. Especially so if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as... Alright, we picked up a rare candy naturally here. I feel it's time we do this. Let's take our rare candy and give it to Liam. At level 36, your starter Pokemon will be fully evolved.
What is this power coursing through me? I feel incredible now!
Liam has evolved into Sceptile. Oh man, I've been so excited for this. So our Liam is now fully grown. As a Sceptile, he is incredibly fast and very powerful with special attack. He is definitely going to see us through a lot of battles going forward. Especially because Grass is a really good type to have in the second half of this game. You are going to slay so much in our way, Liam. I'm so happy we were able to get you fully evolved. So now that we've done that, it's time to look around and see what we're able to capture here. Actually, I'm gonna swap Fillet to the front, since you have a move that's really good for weakening Pokemon. So what I want to do here on Mount Pyre, I specifically want to explore the upper sections of this area, as depending on where you are in this location, you will tend to encounter different Pokemon. And in the upper regions, you are more likely to encounter certain elusive Pokemon that cannot be found anywhere else in the region. Ooh, we got a Zinc. Let's get that to Titania. You're one of our most defensive Pokemon, so you would benefit a lot from having that. Yeah, up here on the very top of this area, let's go searching for a new teammate. There's quite a few Pokemon we can run into up here. So regardless of whether you're playing Ruby or Sapphire or Emerald, you will always be able to encounter Shuppet and Duskull in these areas. It's just that the percentage of whether you're going to run into these Pokemon is different depending on versions. Where Ruby and Omega Ruby, you're more likely to encounter Duskull, whereas in Sapphire, Emerald, and Alpha Sapphire, you are more likely to run into Shuppet. But there are some other Pokemon we can find around here, including one that is exclusive to Ruby and Sapphire that you cannot get in Emerald. Okay, so it looks like your encounter here is Duskull. This is the more defensive counterpart to Shuppet, and could be quite nice for us to obtain. Oh man. That thing is quite low there. As you can see, that much damage from a Dragon Rage. Yeah, this thing has very low HP. But your defenses are really good. This could be very good backup for us. Alright, managed to get ourselves Duskull. Duskull wanders lost among the deep darkness of midnight. There is an oft-told admonishment given to misbehaving children that this Pokemon will spirit away bad children who earn scoldings from their mothers. So yet again, we're seeing that Ghost-type Pokemon have some very nasty lore to them. So what are we going to call this guy? Well, you're associated with spiriting away people, so I thought we could call you Charon, after the ferryman who leads spirits to the underworld in Greek mythology. Yeah, I feel like that's a very fitting name for you. Alright, so now we got our encounter here. There's quite a few other Pokemon you could have gotten here. For one, you could have obtained Vulpix, which is a Fire-type Pokemon, which is kind of the trickier ones to recommend. It has good special defense and can be a pretty decent attacker overall, but it's not really the most incredible Pokemon. Like, I could easily recommend the Numel or Slugma over using Vulpix here in this game. You could have also obtained Meditite here in Ruby, Sapphire, and the remakes. Sadly not in Emerald, but Meditite's a really good Pokemon, especially with its ability Pure Power, which doubles its attack stat. And with it being a fighting psychic type, it's a very interesting and unique Pokemon compared to what we have seen here so far. So that could also be a very nice encounter you could obtain here. Could easily recommend that, especially if you get one with a plus attack nature, because, oh boy, that thing can do so much damage. And, very rarely here, you're able to obtain a Psychic-type Pokemon called Chimecho. And Chimecho is sadly kind of awkward to recommend. I do like the Pokemon, but its stats really aren't all that great compared to other Pokemon we have previously encountered. Like Abra and Ralts, as we have previously seen before, they get so much better stats than dinky old Chimecho. It's really a weird Pokemon that I can't really recommend too much. Unless you're trying to do a run where you're trying to use Pokemon that you haven't used yet, or maybe some underpowered Pokemon. Yeah, it's kind of weird to recommend. I don't really think too highly of it, though it is a Pokemon I was able to obtain a shiny of, as back when I was playing around X and Y, I managed to encounter a shiny Chingling, which is the baby form of Chimecho, and was able to evolve that, and yeah, it was quite nice getting a shiny of that Pokemon. It's definitely one that I was quite happy to obtain. But yeah, definitely a few interesting encounters you can get here in Mount Pyre. Though if you specifically want to get Vulpix, Metatite, and Chimecho, you need to search the top section of Mount Pyre. Because when we're down here in this mausoleum-like section of the mountain, you only run into Shuppet and Duskull. So bear that in mind when you're trying to encounter something here, especially if you're doing a challenge run. So it'd definitely be a good idea to lead with Shari for the time being, since we're going to be encountering a lot of ghost types in this area. So grab a free Ultra Ball, nice, and let's fight these two. So we got a couple going here to the cemetery as they're on a dare. I hope these two manage to get out with their relationship intact. Oh man, seeing this battle reminds me of this one video that I recall so much. So there's a channel I follow called the D-Pad, and they tend to do Pokemon Nuzlocke runs every now and then. And specifically for the run they did of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in this specific double battle, they accidentally KO'd the Gengar they were using their own Swampert using Earthquake, which only killed the Gengar because he triggered its Mega Evolution, causing it to lose its ability of Levitate for Shadow Tag, thus making it vulnerable to the Earthquake. Yeah, that is a particular fight that is always in my mind whenever I look back on Nuzlocke runs of these games, because it's just such a funny moment that can only happen due to the carelessness of a content creator. Let's have you slash at this Delcatty. Shari's still going to be asleep here, but Blocky should be able to weather anything this Delcatty can do. Yeah, why are you even bothering hitting Blocky? His defense is really high. Alright, let's take you out. I could have also used Shari's turn in order to wake her up with the blue flute, but I didn't feel like it was that necessary for this fight. Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier than the fight with the Spinda and Slacking we did earlier. Ouch! There are holes in the ground here and there. I didn't notice it took a tumble from the floor above. Yeah, you want to be careful whenever you see holes in the ground, as those, if you fall down, will send you to the floor below. So definitely watch out if you're trying to make progress in this area. As you can no doubt tell from us still being here on Mount Pyre, I want to explore more of this area because there's some more trainers we can battle here to give our Pokemon some primo experience. And this is just a good area for us to go to in general because there's some pretty nice things we can grab here. Specifically, one thing that's really good in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there's some Mega Stones you're able to get here. Like, I believe you can obtain the stones for Shuppet's evolution as well as Metatite's evolution here. I faintly recall that. So those are really good to grab in this area. Alright, got Shari to level 35. So I would definitely like to keep Shari at a good level, considering we're coming up to an area where Dark is going to be really useful. And I would swap you out, but I have a feeling that you'd still be pretty good against some of the battles we can do in this area. There's one trainer in particular I want to watch out for. And yeah, with your current set, you should be good to handle anything. So let's see what you got. The rich atmosphere of the mountain has elevated my psychic power. Yeah, we also got psychics to deal with in here. So William has got himself a Ralts. Really not anything special compared to what we've seen before. Especially this late into the game, Ralts is such low stats. Like, you could probably knock this thing out with a not very effective attack. It's that weak. So there is its evolution. Curlia, certainly a bit more formidable than Ralts, but still not all that strong. I drown myself in self-pity. But trust me, if you're using the Ralts line in these runs, it is such a phenomenal Pokemon when you get it fully grown. Ooh, so we got ourselves a black belt to deal with. The usual guys we have to deal with black belts isn't here. You know, Blocky is very defensive. You should be able to handle anything this guy can do to us. So let's patch you up a bit, Blocky, and we should be good.
Teacher, please watch over my progress.
So that kind of explains why this guy is here in the cemetery. It's Atsushi here. Gamzo Makuhita. Alright, we dealt with plenty of these guys before. So I am going to set up with Sandstorm, as that will benefit Blocky very well thanks to his ability. Ow! Knockoff. Okay, so that move is pretty nasty. So that will remove any item that your Pokemon is currently holding. So in that case, Blocky has lost his Soft Sand for the remainder of this battle. Thankfully, it's not permanent. Otherwise, I would have been really cross with this thing. But we should be good. We have our evasiveness up. The Sandstorm is going to be chipping away at our opponents. And Blocky is naturally a very good Pokemon for dealing with physical attackers. So he should be able to handle anything in this fight. Next up is Machoke. Alright, a bit beefier than a Makuhita, but we should still easily be able to handle this. Let's go for Dig. I am a little worried this thing could potentially do revenge on us, but it shouldn't be too bad. Oh yeah, that thing has Foresight, so it can do that to make itself more accurate and able to hit us. But we should be good. Okay, that wasn't enough to finish you, but we should be good. Alright, one more hit will finish you. We're not going to bother setting up the Sandstorm. But we'll probably heal you up after this so that you're prepared for the next Pokemon coming out. Alright, there goes the Machoke. And lastly, we have Hariyama. We did fight this guy before in an earlier session, but just a refresher, this thing is an HP tank if ever there was one. It is very bulky and... Alright, that is the worst Pokemon to send out against this thing. Please refrain from doing so. This guy is also pretty strong physically, so definitely watch out for that. I definitely really like the Hariyama line. Some of my favorite Pokemon to use in the Generation 3 games, honestly. Just because they're very bulky, and being a fighting type, they're pretty good against a lot of normal types that you're bound to encounter in the journey. And they're especially good in this game, considering that later on we're eventually... Come on, stop doing this. You're just using Whirlwind and it's making me really annoyed. But yeah, it's honestly really good for the late game, since fighting is good against some very strong Pokemon we'll be seeing later on. Now, could you not? Ooh, critical hit. So yeah, that proves that a critical hit from this thing could be lethal. We definitely need to heal after that. So yeah, as long as we don't go under half... Will you freaking stop? You know what, if you're just gonna be a bitch this entire fight, Liam, time for your debut battle. Slice him to ribbons! Oh, now your Whirlwind fails. I see how it is. God, what a weird battle. But with that, we finally managed to deal with Atsushi's team. What a weird fight.
Until I improve, my teacher who rests here will never find true peace.
So that confirms that not only Pokemon, but even people have been laid to rest here. You can easily tell this is a very sacred area to the people of the Hoenn region, given how many people have come here. Even people using this area as a training ground for their teams. It's definitely pretty interesting. Alright, seeing this guy using this. So Curse is a pretty interesting attack. So that move has a different effect depending on the type of the Pokemon. When used by most Pokemon, it lowers the user's speed but increases their attack and defense. However, if a Ghost type uses it, it will instead cut the HP of the user in half in exchange for dealing about a quarter of the opponent's max HP and damage to them at the end of every turn. It can be quite the nasty move to get affected by, especially if you're locked into a battle using a move like Mean Look. Yeah, definitely watch out whenever your Pokemon get hit with that status, cause it's a nasty one. But we shouldn't have to worry too much about anything else in here, especially with the way our current team is looking. Ooh, Shari's very close to 36. That'd be pretty good for you. I want to see dreadful things. I can't leave. Stay. Won't you stay with me? Lady, you are weird. We're just gonna move on. We should be pretty close to the top by now. We got another Hex Maniac to deal with. Still a little concerned about encountering a certain Pokemon on someone's team, but we should be fine. Yeah, let's bring Shari back in to deal with you. When I'm here, a curious power flows into me. Please don't say stuff like that, especially with your trainer class's reputation in the series. Oh, you got a Sableye. So that's honestly not the best opponent for Shari, since you are going to resist normal. Well, you're immune to normal. So the only thing we can do against you is bite. And you're just going to be spamming the attack because you're a little bitch. Come on, you're not supposed to be that bad. Oh, that's not too bad. We 2-hit KO you. That's good. Alright, Shari finished them. Good stuff. And we get to 36 on Shari. Very nice. The power is ebbing away. So Valerie here, I believe, is also a trainer that you can rematch. So consider that for later. At this point, I feel like we are done with exploring this area. So we head over here. We can finally get to the big items we've been exploring this entire mountain to find, alongside some of the other good loot we've been encountering. This is a really good area to explore if you just want to find some good swag. So over here, we grab TM30. This contains the move Shadow Ball, which is easily one of the best damage-dealing Ghost-type moves you can acquire. So definitely recommend teaching that to a Shuppet or a Duskull if you're using it. Or you could, teach it to Shedinja, but who's even considering using that in a run? But it can also be learned by a lot of other Pokemon. In fact, that'd actually be a really good move to give to our Absol Nemesis. So we'll definitely consider our options for later. But after dealing with that, nowhere for us to go but down. And around here, we should be able to get some other good swag. Our inventory is already full. I hate the item management in these older games. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Super Repel. We can grab Lax Incense. So that is a hold item that decreases the chances of your opponent hitting the Pokemon that it's held. Could be very nice. And over here we have Sea Incense. That's pretty much another version of... Dude, we do not need a max potion here. Gonna go use that on Shari. So this is another version of the Mystic Water that we acquired earlier, being able to boost the damage of water-type attacks. But the incense are also pretty unique in that they are items that are tied to breeding. So if you give a Marill or an Azumarill the Sea Incense to hold and then breed it, you can acquire Azurill eggs. And if you give the Lax Incense to hold with a Wobbuffet, you are able to acquire... you're able to acquire eggs for Wynot. So they're definitely quite useful if you want to fill up your Pokedex. Though, you get a Wynot egg for free, so... Yeah, unless you're trying to get a Wynot and Wobbuffet with a very specific nature, I really don't see too much use from breeding it. However, you do need to breed a Azurill to get it registered in the Pokedex, so definitely want to watch out for that. Anyway, now that we're done with things in the Mount Pyre, want to swap around our team a bit, as we've gotten some pretty high-level Pokemon so far. So, definitely want to swap out Liam. So now that you are pretty much our strongest team member at this point, Shari's gotten some good action, so we'll swap you out. And we are going to need Fillet for this area, since we're going to be surfing a bit. But we can swap out Blocky. Alright, let's bring in Carl. So now that we have managed to evolve our starter, I would definitely like to focus on Carl during this next section that we are going to, as he also evolves at level 36. So getting you trained up would be muy bueno. Also, let's look at our new catch, Charon. So you are timid. That lowers attack in exchange for speed. Honestly, a bad nature for you, considering that Duskull's more of a physical attacker. I mean, you do learn special attacks, but yeah, it's really not the best. Alright, for current team, we should be good for this next area. Also, I would recommend for this section of the area would be a good idea to have a Pokemon with Fly in your party, as that could be quite useful to quickly get out of here, for reasons that will become evident. Let's swap Carl in the lead. Oh yeah, I completely forgot we got to deposit these items, because they're cluttering up our inventory and we're going to be acquiring some more items in this next place to explore. God, what is with me today? I don't know, I'm still just so hyped about getting to play Fire Red and Leaf Green in a bit. There's something else I didn't mention before that I'm excited about. The fact that we're getting Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Switch also has me excited for the prospect of getting Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald also on the Switch. Because what I would like to do in the future is, once we have all of the Generation 3 games on Switch, I'm going to try and go for a full Pokedex of the Generation 3 games. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I've heard horror stories of just how difficult it can be to get a complete Pokedex in these games, because you need so many just to acquire specific Pokemon. But believe me when I say it's going to be well worth it, and It's just something I've always wanted to do, especially as someone who tries to complete the Pokédex in every single Pokemon game that I have played. So I feel it'd be a fun use of our time. So over here in this very elusive spot of the region, I believe this is a trainer that you're able to rematch. So I got Psychic Cameron. So yeah, really not too bad, all things considered. It's got Kadabra, which is a very fast special attacker. But we shouldn't have to worry too much about this guy, because he is frail. Easy experience for Carl. But his next Pokemon is Solrock. Let's lead with a Yawn. There's not much Carl can do to this thing, so let's try to impede it before switching to someone else. There's Psywave. So that move, I believe I said before, does variable damage, so you gotta watch out for that. Alright, so you are a rock and a psychic type. Titania would honestly be pretty good here. We can just whack you with Iron Tail a bit, we should be good. This thing does have Fire Spin, but you're asleep, so we shouldn't have to worry too much about damage here. So Fire Spin is what's known as a trapping move. So this thing will continuously do damage to us at the end of every turn. And while this move is in effect, our Pokemon are incapable of switching out. Can be quite useful for certain strategies if you want to keep a certain Pokemon in a battle without having to get the opponent to switch it out. But yeah, not really that useful in a main story run because they do so little damage. But in multiplayer, they do have a few interesting niches. So over here, we can grab another rare candy. Oh, we are definitely popping that on Carl once we get you to 35. I feel like that'll be a pretty good use of our time. So over here, we can acquire some berries. Very good. Yet again, an example of why this section of the region is so good for cultivating berries. And if we talk to this lady, I love grass-type Pokemon. Do you have any grass-type Pokemon? Oh, I'm sorry, I deposited my only grass-type into the box. So we're gonna want to talk to this girl in a bit, as she has something that will be really useful to us. Trust me when I say it's going to be good. And grab a Hyper Potion. That's quite nice, even though we don't have any Pokemon with 200 HP. So those items really aren't all that great. Like, if you need a high healing item, just go for Lemonade. It's the best thing we're going to have in this adventure. Alright, to Skull. What are we going to do for Scully here? Sure, we give Titania some action. There's not much this thing should be able to do to us. Sure, you can hit us with Pursuit. It's really not anything special. So that's something else we can talk about while we're going through this route. Which, by the way, this is Route 123. One of the last terrestrial routes we're going to see here in the Hoenn region. I guess something else I could mention. So I was watching a friend of mine stream a fan hack called Mario Mon, and in his latest stream he went through the New Donk City portion of the game and has started to explore the Comet Observatory section, which is a really cool portion of the game. So I'm really excited to eventually try out Mario Mon. I definitely want to stream it at some point, but with my current priorities, we're definitely going to hold off on that until a bit later. But trust me, I do want to play this game live. It's so amazing, and I can't wait to talk more about it. God, there's been so much that I really wanted to do lately. And I'm still trying to go through some other things that I've been meaning to do for quite some time. Like, the last couple of weeks this month, I've been trying to make some more progress in both Celeste and Final Fantasy VII Remake, though I actually haven't touched those games in quite a few days. I need to get back to them. They are such good games and I want to experience more of them. So I believe there are some Pokemon we can run into on this route, though I'm not too sure if we're going to be finding them on our first visit here, depending on how things go. There are quite a few things we're able to see here that you will need to revisit this route a couple times to be able to get the full experience, but we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. If you're playing through Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, though, I highly recommend coming to this route, because I believe this is where you can get the Mega Stone for Mega Gyarados, which can easily be something I can recommend. Ah, you have a Mawile! It's quite the cute Pokemon. Sadly, one we're not going to be able to encounter in this game, but I still really like Mawile. So this thing is a Steel type in this game, but in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it becomes a Steel Fairy type, which combined with the fact that it also gets a Mega Evolution, really makes it a worthwhile Pokemon. I highly recommend using this thing if you're able to get one in Omega Ruby. So I actually did an Omega Ruby Nuzlocke a couple years back, and I did use Mawile on my team, and my god, is it such a phenomenal Pokemon. I love it so much. And just pretty interesting conceptually. Like, this thing is based on a yokai, where it's a woman who has a mouth on the back of her head. And just seeing that thing's design translated to a Pokemon is pretty fascinating. Carl's taking a bit of damage. Let's switch to Echo to deal with this Roselia. We haven't gone into much action with Echo, and I would definitely like to fix that. Ooh, definitely a good idea to switch to you, as your soundproof renders you immune to the effects of Grass Whistle. It's very nice when a plan comes together. Really? Do you really need to use a full restore on a Roselia? Come on, get out of here with that. We're actually pretty close to getting an evolution for Echo, though he is going to need a bit more effort than our other Pokemon to get there. Would still be very much worth it, as he does get a very solid evolution coming up. We'll have to see, depending on how things go going forward, because I am starting to get thoughts on what my final team of this run is going to be. Especially with our current selection and with the Pokemon we still have yet to acquire in this region. Because believe me, there is still a lot of Pokemon we have yet to catch that can be really good teammates. God, I cannot wait till we're in the thick of it. Though we're probably not going to be seeing most of those until probably next week. Alright, Echo, you took a bit of a beating there. Let's heal you up. That was a good fight, all things considered. You can always expect the ace trainers to give you a good fight. So they typically use a pretty large team that also has a lot of diverse options. Alright, so we got another cool trainer over here we can deal with. You seem to have a big collection of gym badges. Let me see if you're actually worthy of those badges. Dude, if I was able to beat Flannery's Torkoal, Norman's Slacking, and Winona's Altaria, yeah, I think I would be worthy of these badges. Come on. Get off your high Ponyta. Alright, we've got Swellow to deal with here. And again, these guys using the healing items. Come on, that's supposed to be a player thing. Alright, we can just finish you with a slash. That's good. Oh, we are so close, and this guy has so many Pokemon. Jeez! Magneton. Yeah, I think just switching to Granite to deal with you is a good idea. Especially because this thing really doesn't get any Steel moves until the next set of games, which is Diamond and Pearl. So, yeah, we don't really need to worry too much about Granite taking a big hit from these guys.
Magnitude!
Very good. Now we dealt with those guys. We got Wilmer. Definitely want to switch out. Carl, you got more HP. We'll send you out. Not too worried, all things considered, but, you know, something could happen. Like that, critical hit. No thank you. Yeah, anytime our Pokemon enter the yellow, I'm just gonna be like, healing, healing. As you know, we've been doing pretty good in this run so far. The entire time we've been live here in our Sapphire Nuzlocke, we have not had a single fatality, so I am definitely looking to keep it that way. But we'll have to see how things go. We do got some pretty tough battles coming up. Ooh, Trapinch. Yeah, you should be able to handle this, Carl. Just give me a second to heal you up. We got plenty of money for healing items, so I'm not too worried about spamming these during this fight. And I'm also not one of those people who plays with a rule set where you can't use items in battle. I mean, if you play using those rules, you are perfectly valid. I personally don't care for them. And your final Pokemon here is Shiftry. So that thing is a grass dark type in the final form of Seedot. Yeah, that dinky little acorn turns into this intimidating Tengu. Such a cool concept for an evolution. Yeah, that thing could be pretty nasty, but thankfully, we were able to handle it. Good work, Carl. You put in so much work in that fight, so you deserve this reward we're giving you. Take this rare candy, my guy. It's time for Carl to evolve.
Oh boy, I'm really feeling strong now. Oh, man, all this fighting just leaves me so exhausted.
And Carl wants to try to learn Swagger. No, thank you. So after all this effort training him up, Carl has finally become a Slacking. Ooh, we got a protein. Let's go ahead and give that to Carl, because you're already a good physical attacker. So yeah, really want to show just how good this Pokemon is. Ignore the ability. Look at that! 126 attack at only level 36. And look at the rest of your stats. The HP is the highest of any Pokemon we currently have. You're actually a pretty decent special attacker, and your speed? Look at this thing! This is a monster of a Pokemon. Easily one of the strongest we can find in the entirety of this region. However, you're only able to attack every other turn. But remember when we went to the department store and picked up a certain move? Yeah, I want to teach Hyper Beam to Carl. So this move already uses up a turn in order for this move to work. And the turn that we have to wait on Hyper Beam as well as Truant are both consumed on the same turn. So yep, we're going to go ahead and get rid of Slash. And Carl now knows Hyper Beam. A stab 150 base power move off of this massive attack stat. Yeah, Carl is easily our strongest Pokemon at this point. Sorry, Liam, your reign as the king of our party has come to a very short end. God, I am so happy about this. Like, in my Emerald Nuzlocke, I also had a Slacking, and he was phenomenal. Made it all the way to the Hall of Fame. So glad I was able to use him in that run. And I'm so glad I have an opportunity to showcase how massively strong this Pokemon is in this run. Yeah, we are definitely going to see some good use out of Carl. You know, I just realized the entire reason that Carl has good special attack is because of his nature, since mild increases special attack. You know what? That's fine. I'm totally cool with that. Granted, you have terrible special defense, so let's swap you out for Echo to deal with this Kadab. Oh, you go in for a pretty good strategy, all things considered. As this thing has really low defense, so using Reflect is a pretty good way to try and minimize damage on it. There, see? It was able to actually survive Echo's strength. Otherwise, it would have been KO'd instantly. So yeah, it definitely shows how good those kind of defensive moves can be. I certainly got a lot of use out of those attacks myself. Boy, Lunatone. So out of our options here, pretty much the only thing that Echo can do against you is using Astonish. Well, let's see what we can do here. Okay, that's just pitiful damage. Oh boy, there's the future sight from that Kadabra. Alright, didn't do as much damage. I was honestly worried that we were actually going to lose Echo. But nope, we were actually pretty good. Okay, Titania, you can easily handle this thing with a Iron Tail. There's not much this thing can do to you, so we should be all good. Okay, you could do Hypnosis like a bitch. I don't appreciate that. At the very least, Hypnosis is not a guaranteed hit. You do have to worry about its accuracy. So, Titania should still be fine. We should definitely be able to take out this Lunatone. Ah, trying to buff your defenses with Cosmic Power. Well, that's not going to help you against my Metal Dinosaur. Strike down that moon! Very good. Left another crater in that thing's face. Astounding. I forget if this is also a trainer you can rematch. I could honestly see it. But yeah, that's another good fight won by us. Ooh, Echo is really sore at the moment. Let's give you some... Yeah, we'll give you a Sody Pop. How you feeling, man? I tasted my own blood for a second. Well, you're doing good now. Alright, these two. Let's swap Echo and Mickey's places for these two. Okay, we're beating the trainer's Pokemon. So these two, I believe... Twins Mew and Yuki. Got themselves a Butterfly and a Dustox. Okay, I'm actually worried about Granite being in this fight since Beautifly can learn Grass attacks. So I'm actually going to swap you out. Yeah, we can bring Mickey in for this one. And Echo, we'll have you focus on the Beautifly. I just want to take that thing out as quickly as we can. So that can be nasty. Alright, we're able to take you out. Very good. And Dustox, we really shouldn't have to worry about. Our two normal types should easily handle this thing. Like, it's a defensive Pokemon, but at this stage of the game, its defenses really aren't all that great. If you're using a Beautifly and a Dustox this late into the game, I have utmost respect for you for keeping that Pokemon alive. I have actually considered what I would do about Velvet, our Beautifly that we've been using ever since we first caught her really early on in our first session. And at this point, I feel like we're at a good point where we can actually retire Velvet, as I don't feel like we're going to have much use for her in the next couple stages of our adventure. Like, she doesn't really learn a whole lot of great moves at this point, and the moves she does have are easily covered by other Pokemon. Her flying attacks are covered by Gladys, and her grass attacks are covered by Liam. So yeah, I just really don't feel like there's any more use for having Velvet in our team. Which is sad, because she's been a Pokemon we've been using for so much of our adventure. But I feel like she has quickly hit her limit as far as usability goes in this adventure. But you know, she had a good run. We didn't lose her at any point. So I feel like it's a pretty good victory for her, that she gets to retire in peace. Speaking of things we gotta watch out for, we got this Breloom. Actually, we have Ice Beam. That should easily handle you. Very good. So in terms of other stuff that's been happening and I've been checking out, so I'm very happy with the progress that Chugger Conroy's making in his Soul Silver run he's been doing. Like, he managed to catch his final team member and defeat the last gym leader of the Johto region, which I've been very happy about. And he even offered a chance for the fans to nickname his last teammate. And I managed to give a suggestion, though I don't feel like it's going to do too well compared to some other options I've seen in the comments. But we'll see. So over here, we got ourselves a really good spot if you want to grow berries. We just got so many berry spots over here. And if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, this area is expanded even further and is easily the most optimal place to go if you want to raise up berries in those games. But yeah, I easily recommend dedicating the eastern section of the map to berry raising. There are so many spots where you can plant these berries, and it honestly doesn't take too long to reach them. So yeah, that's definitely a good spot you want to go to for berry cultivating. God, are we almost done here? There's so many berries. And that's not even all we're able to do in this little farm area. So we still got the house we can visit. Alright, now that we cleared that out, we can go behind this house, as I believe... Yeah, just a revive. Nothing we really need in this adventure. But if we check in this house...
You may call me the Berry Master. I dream of filling the world with beautiful flowers, so I raise berries and hand them out to everyone. You're deserving of one.
So we're able to get some pretty elusive berries by talking to this guy once a day.
Why be stingy? Take another. Be sure to visit the Pretty Petal Flower Shop near Rustboro.
So I believe this family here, well, this elderly couple, are the grandparents of the girls who run the shop over in, well, the shop to the south of Rustboro City.
The way my husband grows berries, oh, he's the best in the world. He makes me proud that he does. Is a deadly child, have you heard a good saying lately?
So this lady is fairly unique in that you're able to tell her a very specific phrase out of the options available to us here in order to receive some exclusive berries that cannot be found anywhere else. And I know one of these sayings off the top of my heart. Great battle.
Ah, what a remarkable saying. inspirational it is. I want you to have this. So that gets us a Spallon Berry. Our 4 grandchildren should become more accomplished than my husband. Joy never goes out of my life. So yeah, we get a bit of lore with this elderly couple being related to the girls who run the flower shop by Rustboro City. I quite like that little touch, really showing like all these areas are connected and the familial relations between all these different characters. It's very pleasant. So around here I remember there, if you're playing Emerald, there's a double battle you can do there that could be pretty nasty, as you deal with both a Absol and a Pinsir, which can hit pretty hard. But we shouldn't have to worry about any of that. Speaking of things I don't want to worry about, that Wingull against my Granite, no thank you. Because if Granite just looks at water, he is going to fall to pieces. And I don't want that to happen. Even though Granite's probably not going to be as useful as some of my other Pokemon in a bit, especially given some of the areas we're going to be exploring, which makes using a rock ground Pokemon a little difficult to recommend in this adventure. But, you know, he still pulled his weight a good deal ever since we caught him. Like, he's been really good in the fire, normal, and flying gyms. It's just a shame that in the second half of Hoenn, these kind of Pokemon really tend to struggle, just because of how many water types we're going to be encountering in the later stages of the game. But, you know, he's been a good teammate. Even if we're not going to take him all the way to the end, I was quite happy to have him around for a bit. Okay, we are very close to where I want to end this stream session. But before we do, we heard that Team Aqua was going to be heading to Slateport after Archie claimed the blue orb. So how about we look into that? Gladys, you can hop on board, since we're going to be needing your flying services here. Yeah, Carl can take a break, so you've definitely had a lot of good work put in here. And, yeah, let's bring in Zappercorn. You can take Granite's place here. And I think we should be good. So we actually didn't catch our Route 123 encounter. So we'll probably do that in the next session, so I just want to focus on some other things first. So Gladys, it's time for us to fly away to Slateport City. So let's see what's going on here. Oh look, a big crowd. It seems that Captain Stern is being interviewed because of something. Quite interesting. Should be good to follow up on this. So let's see what's going on. And yeah, we'll switch Zap to the lead. Yes, indeed, we intend to move ahead with our exploration. That's wonderful, Captain Stern. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule to talk to us. We hope we can interview you again with news of more discoveries. Whew! That was my first time to be filmed for TV. That was nerve-wracking. Oh, Hayden, you're looking great. We made a huge discovery on our last seafloor exploration. We found an underwater cavern on Route 128. We think it's the habitat of a Pokemon that's said to have been long extinct.
Captain Stern, I presume? We of Team Aqua will assume control of your submarine. Your objections are meaningless. We expect your total cooperation. Just watch and learn what Team Aqua has planned.
What was that all about? Sound like someone using a megaphone. Where did it come from? It's from the harbor. The submarine. They're trying to take it. Hayden, please come with me.
Of course we got these guys here. I commiserate with you. All that effort you spent following me here all the way from Mount Pyre. But now, no one can stop us. No one! Or will you follow us back to our hideout in Lily Cove City?
Okay, I thought maybe we were gonna have a battle here. I may have misremembered because of the remakes. Why? Why would Team Aqua steal my Submarine Explorer 1? They can't be after the slumbering Pokemon at the bottom of the sea. But even if I were to chase them, I don't stand a chance against them. So yep, Team Aqua is headed back to Lily Cove after stealing the submarine here in Slateport City in order to continue their wicked plans. So we obviously have a lot that we are going to need to take care of. But very quickly, I want to head back to Lily Cove City as we have some unfinished business here. Well, unfinished business in this area, I mean we need to go back to this one route and take care of some things that I feel are going to be necessary for us. Like catching a Pokemon on that route, and getting a few things that we missed in our first go-around. For now, let's deposit a few things. So let's put away... What do we got here? Revive is useless to us. Elixir, pass. Don't need the Super Repel. Alright. And we're gonna need a Grass-type Pokemon in our party. Liam, we're gonna be needing your services again. And Titania can go in the box for now. So yep, we want ourselves a Grass-type with us when we are heading back this way, as this is gonna be quite important for what we're gonna be doing. And sure, Mickey, you can go in the lead for now. Not too worried about you since the Pokemon around here aren't that strong. So we shouldn't have to worry too much. Although in hindsight, we probably could have kept that Repel on us. So that'd be handy for dealing with some of the encounters we could have made on the way over here. But I guess we could talk about something else while we are heading this way. So, something else that I have been watching lately. So, a streamer I follow called Snapcube has recently started her playthrough of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask on her Twitch channel. And that has just been a blast to watch so far. Like, seeing her getting a chance to figure out, like, all of these things that are pretty commonplace and easy for me to know since I have obviously played so much of Majora. In fact, I have an entire stream playthrough here on this channel of that game. But yeah, it's just been a blast getting to see her reacting to this game for the very first time, figuring out certain puzzles and stuff, as well as just the mechanics with all the NPCs' schedules and what you're able to do by interacting with them. It's just been a blast to get to see. Yep, if you have a Grass-type Pokemon in your party, by talking to her, we received TM19. So this item you would definitely want to grab. So this is really good for your Grass types. Giga Drain. This is a 60 base power Grass-type attack that is basically a stronger version of Absorb. Definitely considering giving that to Liam. We have some areas coming up where we'll be encountering a lot of water types. So having a move like Giga Drain where we can just optimally heal up Liam in between major battles would be quite nice for us to have. Alright, but now that we're back here on this route, we want to stick to the northern path here to get an item that we missed before. And maybe see if we can catch a wild Pokemon here in the meantime. So not too worried about experience at the moment. I'm not really planning on using Mickey that much in major battles. But if we look around here, we should be able to get at something nice. Okay, I don't believe there's any grass in that section, so we're gonna have to stick up here if we're gonna get anything. Alright, there's also a few points where you can set up secret bases with your friends, which I guess is nice, though I don't really see any reason to do so. especially in this run, since this is a pretty far away route. Okay, we're starting to not have some pretty good luck here. So while we're searching here, I'm actually going to open up Bulbapedia on a tab on my phone and search this route, since we're not having a whole lot of luck getting this thing so far. God, this website is so hard to navigate on mobile. Why does it suck so much? Okay, looking at the encounters, there is something new we can get here. So we're just going to be persistent and search around to see if we can get it. There's also another potential thing that would be pretty interesting for us to encounter, but it's like a 1% chance to actually get it, so I'm not expecting us to run into it. There's something else that I feel would be much more appropriate for us to get, but it is like a 15% chance to encounter it. We'll just be persistent, we'll get this thing eventually. So what else can we talk about while we're just searching for this Pokemon? So I guess I could say that pretty recently I've been in a mood to go see a movie that has been in theaters for a little while. So specifically, it's an animated film called Goat, and I just want to see it because a lot of people online have been saying, like, this movie is pretty damn good. And just from the few screenshots and clips that I've seen online, it does look like a very well done movie. Like, freaking animation on it is just so amazing. Such a cool style to it with the character designs and the way they move. So I'm expecting to have a pretty fun time with that when I go see it. So I'll probably check it out tomorrow, since I do have a day off tomorrow as well. So we'll try to schedule a time to see that. It's also pretty funny to me, like, the most recent movie experiences that I have had so far. Like, all of the movies that I have seen in the past year have basically been furry movies. Like, I saw Bad Guys 2 very early in 2025, and then later I saw Zootopia 2, and now I'm interested in seeing Goat. So, you know, it's kind of funny how things work like that. Oh, come on. Don't be a bitch, Oddish. Fine, we'll throw an Ultra Ball if you're gonna be a pain here. But yep, Oddish is one of the Pokemon we could have obtained on this route. We could have also obtained Kecleon, but that's a 1% encounter, so never mind. Oddish, the weed Pokemon. Oddish searches for fertile, nutrient-rich soil, then plants itself. During the daytime while it's planted, this Pokemon's feet are thought to change shape and become similar to the roots of trees. Kind of an interesting little lore detail regarding Oddish. But for this Pokemon, what are we gonna call you? So we got a lady. We also got a Pokemon that's obviously based on a vegetable. You know what? I got a bit of an idea. We will call you Salsa. I feel like that'd be a pretty cute name for you, because, you know, salsa is obviously made from produce. Yeah, I just thought that'd be a pretty fitting name for you. And we got ourselves some calcium. Alright, that's definitely worth it. So definitely want to give that to Liam, since you're our main special attacker. Zappercorn could have also used it, but honestly, you got a good enough special attack already. Alright, so now we've taken care of that, catching the last couple of Pokemon I wanted to do in this section of the region, and managing to clear up a lot of different routes. I think this is where we're going to call it here for today. Let's look at our last encounter here. Alright, Lax Nature really isn't all that great on you. And your moves are not pretty good. Okay, you're fine. You could be decent backup in case something happens to Liam. But you know, I got an even better grass type right here. Yeah, we'll definitely see what we're gonna do about our Pokemon in between sessions. But for now, I am very happy to be done with this section of the game. There have been a lot of routes we had to fully explore, a lot of battles to take part in, as well as getting to see a whole new city. So next time that we play our Pokemon Sapphire Nuzlocke, we are going to be taking the fight to Team Aqua's hideout, and then seeing what we can find across the sea. Until next time, have a good day, and take care.